I stare at the flickering candles on my birthday cake, 34 perfect little flames dancing in the dim light of my empty dining room. The cake sits untouched, its white frosting pristine, waiting for a celebration that isn't coming. My phone buzzes against the mahogany table, Jake's name lighting up the screen. "Hey, babe, change of plans." His voice carries that familiar lightness that always appears when he's about to disappoint me. "Mom insisted we head up to the lake house tonight instead of tomorrow. You know how she gets." I hear Karen's shrill laugh in the background, followed by the clink of glasses. "But it's our anniversary dinner," I say, my fingers tracing the edge of the carefully set plate before me. "And my birthday." "Right, right. We'll celebrate when I get back, okay? Double the reason to party." He chuckles, and I hear Michael's booming voice joining in. "The whole family's here. Well, except you, obviously." "Obviously," I echo, watching a drop of wax slide down one of the candles. "When exactly did you plan this impromptu trip?" "Oh, you know how these things go. Mom called everyone this morning, said we needed some quality family time. Lily's here too. She managed to make it on such short notice." Of course she did. Lily never misses an opportunity to insert herself into family events, especially ones I'm excluded from. The candle wax pools on my perfect tablecloth, leaving a permanent mark. "Summer? You still there?" "I spent 3 days preparing for tonight," I say quietly. "The cake, the dinner, everything." "Come on, don't be like that. You know family comes first." There's an edge to his voice now, that warning tone he uses when I'm not being reasonable enough. More laughter erupts in the background. Karen's voice carries through clearly. "Jake, darling, we're opening the champagne." "Listen, I've got to go. We'll talk tomorrow, okay? Love you." The line goes dead before I can respond. I sit there, staring at my phone, at the carefully arranged place settings, at the expensive wine I'd bought for the occasion. The silence in the room feels heavy, suffocating. My mother, Rebecca, warned me about this when I married Jake. "That family has their own gravity," she'd said. "They'll pull him back every time, and you'll be left orbiting on the outside." I didn't believe her then. I thought our love would be different, stronger. But here I am, alone on my birthday, on my anniversary, while my husband celebrates with his family at their lake house, a celebration they planned specifically without me. The candles have burned halfway down now, hot wax dripping onto the cake I spent hours decorating. Each drop feels like another small betrayal, another moment I've wasted trying to be good enough for them. My phone buzzes again, a text from Lily. "Sorry you couldn't make it. Don't worry, I'll take lots of pictures." Something snaps inside me. I stand up slowly, picking up the cake with both hands. For a moment, I consider throwing it against the wall, watching it explode in a satisfying display of destruction. Instead, I walk to the kitchen, my steps measured and calm. I open the trash can and drop the entire cake inside, candles and all. The flames sputter out in the darkness, leaving only thin trails of smoke rising from the bin. This is the moment I decide, really decide, that things need to change. I've spent the last 3 years trying to fit into their world, bending and shrinking myself to please them. But as I watch the smoke dissipate in my pristine kitchen, I realize it's not about fitting in anymore. It's about making them pay attention, making them understand exactly who they've been dismissing all this time. I pull out my phone and dial my mother's number. She answers on the first ring, as if she's been waiting for my call. "Mom," I say, my voice steady and clear. "I need your help with something." The morning after my ruined anniversary, I find Karen in my kitchen, reorganizing my cabinets. She doesn't look up when I enter, just continues shifting my carefully arranged spice rack into what she deems a more sensible order. "I thought you were at the lake house," I say, gripping the doorframe to steady myself. "Oh, Summer dear, Jake mentioned you were upset last night, so I came to help sort things out." She slides my grandmother's antique serving dishes to a lower shelf. "These really shouldn't be displayed up high. They're not special enough." My throat tightens. Those dishes were my grandmother's wedding gift to me. I prefer them where they were. "Nonsense. You need to learn how proper homes are organized." She turns, finally looking at me with that practiced smile. "Speaking of proper, I noticed you still haven't replaced those dated curtains in the living room. I've brought some catalogs from my designer." The front door opens, and Jake's heavy footsteps echo through the house. He appears in the kitchen doorway, suit wrinkled from sleeping at the lake house. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Just helping Summer understand how things should be done." Karen pats my cheek as she passes. "She needs guidance, dear. You can't expect her to know these things, given her background." I watch Jake's face, waiting for him to defend me. He just loosens his tie and heads for the coffee maker. "Thanks, Mom. Summer does struggle with some of the finer points." The betrayal stings worse than yesterday's phone call. "I managed just fine before you both decided to take over my home." "Don't be dramatic," Jake sighs. "Mom's trying to help. You're the one who keeps fighting against fitting in with the family." Karen nods sympathetically. "It's true, dear. Remember that charity gala last month? Everyone noticed how you barely spoke to the board members' wives." "They were discussing their summer homes in Europe," I say. "I didn't have anything to contribute." "Exactly my point." Karen's voice drips with false concern. "Jake needs a wife who can navigate these social waters. His position in the company depends on it." I think about the conversation I had with my mother last night, about her warnings when I first started dating Jake. The pieces are finally falling into place. "When did you decide I wasn't good enough?" I asked Jake directly. "Was it before or after the wedding?" He won't meet my eyes. "That's not fair. You knew what you were marrying into." "I married you," I say quietly. "Not your mother's social climbing agenda." Karen's perfectly manicured hand slams a cabinet shut. "I won't stand here and be insulted in my son's home." "Your son's home?" I laugh, the sound sharp and unfamiliar. "This is my home too, or at least it was supposed to be." Jake steps between us, his face tight with frustration. "Summer, stop. You're being unreasonable again." "Unreasonable," I respond, tasting the word. Like when I was unreasonable about wanting to keep my job? Or unreasonable about not wanting your mother to plan our entire wedding? "Those decisions were for the best," Karen interjects. "A proper wife in our circle." "I'm not in your circle," I cut her off, "and I'm starting to think I never will be." The silence that follows is deafening. Jake stares at his coffee cup, while Karen's face flushes red with anger. "Well," she says finally, "I suppose we all knew this day would come. Jake, darling, we should discuss your options." My husband, the man who once promised to always choose me first, nods slightly. "I'll come by the house later, Mom." As Karen gathers her designer catalogs and leaves, I stand in my reorganized kitchen, feeling like a stranger in my own home. Jake won't look at me as he heads upstairs to shower. I pull out my phone and text my mother. "You were right about everything. Can we meet?" Her response is immediate. "Come to the boutique. We need to talk about what happened at their last charity gala." I've been doing some digging. I look around at my kitchen, at the evidence of Karen's invasion, and make a decision. I carefully return my grandmother's dishes to their proper place, high and proud where they belong. Let them think I'm backing it down. Let them believe they've won. They have no idea what's coming. My mother's boutique smells like lavender and secrets. She's waiting for me at her desk, surrounded by stacks of papers and a laptop displaying what looks like financial records. "You won't believe what I've found," she says, turning the screen toward me. "Remember that charity gala where Karen humiliated you about your dress?" I nod, my fingers unconsciously touching the spot where Karen had loudly pointed out a loose thread, making sure everyone at the table heard about my discount store fashion sense. Well, it turns out the foundation running that gala has some interesting bookkeeping practices. Look who's on the board. The names jump out at me: Karen, Michael, and buried in the middle, Tom. But it's the numbers that make my breath catch. These donation amounts don't match what they announced. Exactly. My mother's voice is tight with controlled anger. And guess whose signature is on all the discrepancy paperwork? Before she can answer, the boutique's bell chimes. Tom walks in, his presence filling the small space with unexpected tension. My mother quickly switches screens. "Summer," he says, looking uncomfortable in the feminine surroundings. "I thought I might find you here. Following me now?" The words come out sharper than intended. He glances at my mother, then back to me. "Karen's planning another family dinner tonight. She's announcing something important about Jake's position in the company. And let me guess, I'm not invited? You are, actually. He steps closer, lowering his voice. That's why I came to warn you. It's not about Jake's position. It's about you. The air feels suddenly thick. What do you mean? I overheard her talking to Michael. They're planning to. He stops as his phone buzzes. Reading the text, his face tightens. I have to go. Just be careful tonight. Karen's not as subtle as she thinks she is. After he leaves, my mother grabs my hand. You can't go to that dinner. I have to. I look at the financial records still visible on her computer. But first, tell me everything you found. 2 hours later, I'm standing in my closet, staring at the dress Karen gave me for Christmas. Something suitable for family occasions, she'd said. I put it on, feeling the expensive fabric against my skin like armor. Jake comes home early to drive us to his parents' house. You look nice, he says, surprised. Mom will be pleased. That's what I'm counting on. The family estate looms ahead, all Georgian columns and old money pretension. Karen meets us at the door, her smile faltering slightly when she sees me in her chosen dress. Summer, darling, how unexpected. The dining room is full of familiar faces. Michael at the head of the table, Lily smirking from her usual spot, Tom avoiding eye contact. I take my seat, feeling the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Before we begin, Karen announces, standing with her wine glass, we have something to discuss about the future of our family business. I watch Tom's hand tighten around his fork. As you know, she continues, image is everything in our circle, and sometimes difficult decisions must be made for the greater good. My phone buzzes in my lap. A text from my mother. Document sent. Ready when you are. Karen's voice drips with false sympathy. Summer, dear, we've been patient with your adjustment period, but it's become clear that you're not quite suited for the responsibilities of being a part of this family. Karen, Tom interrupts, but Michael silences him with a look. We think it's best, Karen continues, if you and Jake take some time apart. We've already discussed it with our family lawyer. Jake stares at his plate, saying nothing. Lily's smirk grows wider. I stand slowly, feeling everyone's eyes on me. That's interesting timing, Karen, because I've just been discussing some things with my lawyer, too. I pull out my phone, opening the documents my mother sent. Would you like to explain these financial records to everyone, or should I? The color drains from Karen's face as I turn my phone's screen toward the table, displaying the evidence of years of careful fraud. Summer, Michael warns, but I can hear the fear beneath his authority. No, I say quietly. I think it's time everyone heard exactly what kind of family business we're really running here. The morning after exposing Karen's financial records, I find an envelope slipped under my door. Inside is a single photograph. Jake and Lily at a cafe, their heads close together, hands intertwined on the table. The timestamp shows last Tuesday, when Jake said he was working late. My phone rings. Tom's name flashes on the screen. Did you get it? He asks without preamble. You sent this? Karen did. She's having it delivered to every board member right now, along with a carefully crafted story about your unstable accusations and desperate attempts to destroy the family. My fingers trace the edge of the photo. She's trying to discredit me. It's worse than that. Michael's called an emergency board meeting. They're voting to remove all questioned transactions from the records. Once they're gone, my evidence disappears. The realization hits like a physical blow, and I look like a jealous wife making false allegations. A text from Jake appears. We need to talk. Coming home early. I end the call with Tom and move through our house, touching familiar objects that suddenly feel foreign. The wedding photo on the mantel. The throw pillows Karen insisted would elevate the space. The kitchen where Jake and I used to cook together before family dinners became mandatory events at his parents' house. The front door opens. Jake's footsteps are heavy, deliberate. Karen showed me what you did, he says, standing in the doorway. Those records were private family matters. Like your private matters with Lily? His face doesn't register surprise at the photo in my hand. That's different. Lily understands our world, our responsibilities. She knows what's expected. And I don't? You've never tried. Every event, every dinner, every opportunity to prove yourself, you resist. You fight against everything this family stands for. A laugh bubbles up, bitter and sharp. Your family stands for fraud and manipulation. Tell me, was Lily part of the plan from the beginning? Or did Karen arrange that too? He steps closer, voice dropping to that patronizing tone he's learned from his father. Summer, be reasonable. We can fix this. Return the documents, apologize to the board, and we'll get you the help you need. Help? The word tastes like poison. Karen's found an excellent facility. Very discreet. A few months there, and everyone will understand why you made these accusations. Your emotional instability will explain everything. The pieces click into place. This was their plan all along, not just to discredit me, but to erase me completely. While I was gathering evidence of their financial fraud, they were building a case for my mental incompetence. My phone buzzes again. A message from my mother. Don't react. Meeting with our lawyer now. Stay calm and play along. Jake watches me, waiting for the breakdown they've all predicted. Instead, I walk to our bedroom and pull out a suitcase. What are you doing? Packing for the facility. I fold clothes methodically, feeling his confusion. You're right. I need help. He relaxes slightly, reaching for his phone, no doubt to alert Karen of his success. I'll make the arrangements. Just one thing first. I turn to face him. I need to visit my mother, to explain things, say goodbye properly. You understand, right? Family obligations and all that. The irony of using their own manipulation tactics makes my skin crawl, but Jake nods approvingly. Of course, I'll drive you tomorrow. No, I say quickly. I'd rather go alone. One last act of independence before getting help. He agrees, probably thinking he's won. As he leaves to share his victory with Karen, I finish packing, but not for the facility. In my suitcase, hidden beneath carefully folded clothes, lies a USB drive containing copies of every document they think they can erase. My mother's text comes just as I zip the suitcase. Lawyer says we have enough. Time to show them what real family loyalty looks like. I look around our bedroom one last time, at the life I thought I wanted. Tomorrow, Karen and Michael will learn that trying to commit me was their biggest mistake. Because now I have nothing left to lose. The boutique's bell chimes as I enter, but my mother isn't alone. Tom sits at her desk, his usually pristine suit wrinkled, his face drawn. They both look up, conversation stopping mid-sentence. You shouldn't be here, Tom says, standing quickly. Karen's having you watched. I drop my suitcase by the door. I know. Her private investigator has been parked outside my house since dawn. I pull out my phone, showing them the texts from Jake asking where I am, when I'll be back, if I'm thinking clearly. My mother moves swiftly, locking the front door and flipping the sign to closed. We found something else, she says. Show her, Tom. He hesitates, then slides a folder across the desk. Inside are more financial records, but these are different from the Charity Foundation documents. These show a pattern of suspicious transfers between Michael's company and a series of offshore accounts. Karen's not the mastermind, Tom says quietly. She's just a puppet. Michael's been orchestrating everything for years, including your marriage to Jake. The words hit like physical blows. What do you mean? Your father's old company? The one that went bankrupt 10 years ago? Tom won't meet my eyes. Michael engineered its collapse. He wanted to buy it cheap, but your father refused to sell. My legs go weak. I grab the edge of the desk, memories flooding back. My father's confusion over suddenly hostile investors. The mysterious audit. His heart attack 3 months after losing everything. Michael's been watching you ever since, Tom continues. When Jake met you at that charity event? It wasn't coincidence. They needed someone connected to your father's old patents, someone they could control through marriage. The boutique's quiet hum feels suddenly oppressive. And you knew? Not until recently. When you started digging into the foundation, I did some digging of my own. He runs a hand through his hair. I couldn't stay silent anymore. Not after what they're planning for you. My mother touches my arm. The facility they want to send you to? It's not just for treatment. People who go there, they don't come back the same. Michael has connections there, influences the treatments. A car door slams outside. Through the window, I see Lily stepping out of her Mercedes, phone pressed to her ear. She's calling Karen, Tom says urgently. You need to leave. Now. But I don't move. Years of manipulation, my father's death, my carefully orchestrated marriage. It all crystallizes into a single, clarifying moment of rage. No, I say, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. I'm done running. I pull the USB drive from my pocket, the one containing copies of the Foundation documents. How long would it take to add these new records to what we already have? Tom glances nervously at the window. Minutes, but... Do it, I turn to my mother. You still have that list of board members' private emails? She nods, understanding lighting her eyes. And the press contacts. Lily's heels click on the sidewalk outside. Tom's fingers fly over the laptop keyboard, copying files. Karen and Michael think they can commit me, erase me. I pick up a letter opener from the desk, its weight solid and real in my hand. Let's see how they handle having their whole empire erased instead. Summer, Tom warns. Once we do this, there's no going back. Michael won't just try to discredit you, he'll destroy you. I think of my father's confusion in his final days, of Jake's betrayal, of the years stolen from me by their schemes. He can try. The bell chimes. Lily stands in the doorway, her smile sharp as a knife. Having a family meeting without us? I meet her gaze steadily. Actually, we're about to send some very interesting emails. Would you like to watch your world burn, or would you prefer to be surprised? Her smile falters. Behind me, Tom presses enter. The sound of multiple emails sending fills the silence, like the first raindrops before a storm. My phone buzzes. Jake again, demanding to know where I am. I text back 3 words. Ask your father. Then I settle into my mother's chair, the letter opener cool against my palm, and wait for the hurricane I've just unleashed. The police cruiser's lights flash silently outside the boutique as Michael strides through the door, flanked by 2 officers. Karen follows, her face a mask of concerned motherly worry. Behind them, Jake hesitates in the doorway, unable to meet my eyes. That's her, Michael says, his voice steady and reasonable. My daughter-in-law. We're very concerned about her mental state. I stay seated in my mother's chair, the USB drive heavy in my pocket. Tom stands rigid by the window, while my mother moves protectively closer to me. Summer. Karen steps forward, hand outstretched. Darling, we're here to help. These episodes of yours, these paranoid accusations. Show them the files, I tell Tom. He reaches for the laptop, but one of the officers moves first. Ma'am, we have a court order. You need to come with us. What court order? My mother demands. Michael produces a document with practiced smoothness. A temporary psychiatric hold. For her own protection, of course, and the laptop and any devices need to be seized as evidence of her disturbed behavior. The second officer approaches the desk. I stand, my fingers curling around the letter opener. Those files prove everything. The fraud, the manipulation, my father's company. You see? Karen's voice breaks perfectly. She's having delusions about her poor father's death. We should have acted sooner. The officer reaches for the laptop. Tom steps forward, but Michael's quiet cough stops him. Remember your position, brother. I look at Jake, silently begging him to speak up, to remember the man he was before his family consumed him. He stares at the floor. Summer, my mother warns, as I back away from the approaching officer. Don't. But I'm already moving, grabbing the laptop and running for the back door. I hear shouts, footsteps, the crack of something falling. The alley behind the boutique is dark with evening shadows. I make it 3 steps before strong arms catch me. The laptop clatters to the ground, screen shattering. Jake's hands grip my shoulders as I struggle. Stop fighting, he pleads. You're only making it worse. Like you made it worse? I spit back. Was any of it real? Or was I just another acquisition for your father's company? Pain flashes across his face. I did love you, but family. Family! I laugh, the sound bordering on hysteria. You destroyed my family. Your father killed mine. The officers approach cautiously, handcuffs ready. Behind them, Michael picks up the broken laptop with gloved hands. The USB drive, I say desperately. Tom, tell them about. But Tom is gone. Through the boutique's back door, I see him slipping away, shoulders hunched. Another betrayal to add to the collection. It's okay, Karen soothes as the handcuffs click around my wrists. The facility has excellent doctors. They'll help you understand that none of these conspiracy theories are real. My mother tries to intervene, but Michael quietly reminds her of certain tax irregularities in the boutique's books that could cause problems if she interferes. As they lead me to the cruiser, I see Lily watching from her car, phone raised to record everything. Her smile is triumphant. The emails, I remind myself. They can't stop the emails. Already handled, Michael says smoothly. Amazing how quickly internet providers respond to court orders about potentially dangerous individuals spreading libelous material. The cruiser's back seat is cold leather and defeat. Through the window, I watch my mother's helpless face, Jake's conflicted one, Karen's satisfied smile. Michael stands apart, checking his phone with the same expression he probably wore when he destroyed my father's company. Patient appears agitated, one officer speaks into his radio. Proceeding to Oakwood Psychiatric Facility. I close my eyes, remembering my mother's words about people who go into that place. About how they come out changed, or don't come out at all. The cruiser pulls away from the curb. In my pocket, the USB drive feels like a burning coal against my leg. They didn't search me. Why would they? In their minds, I'm just a hysterical woman having a breakdown. Let them think that. Let them believe they've won. Because they forgot one thing in their perfect plan. I'm my father's daughter, and he taught me to always keep a backup plan. As the city lights blur past the window, I press my thumb against the drive's hidden switch, sending one final pre-programmed email to every news outlet in the state. Now we'll see who's really crazy. Oakwood Psychiatric Facility looms ahead, all Victorian architecture and manicured lawns that can't quite hide its true nature. The police cruiser hasn't even stopped when Michael's Mercedes pulls up alongside, Karen already stepping out with a thick folder in her hands. The admission papers are ready, she tells the officers. We'll take it from here. That's when the first news van arrives, then another, and another. Michael's phone buzzes. His face, usually so controlled, goes slack as he reads the screen. Behind him, Jake is staring at his own phone, color draining from his face. What did you do? Karen demands, her perfectly manicured fingers crushing the admission papers. I smile, feeling the empty USB drive in my pocket. Check the news. The headlines are already spreading. CEO Michael Harrison linked to decade-old corporate sabotage. Family empire built on fraud. Suspicious deaths connected to Harrison Industries. Tom's car screeches into the parking lot. He jumps out, waving documents. Stop! Those commitment papers are fraudulent. I have proof of coercion at the courthouse. The officers exchange uncertain looks. Karen steps forward, her voice honey-sweet. Officers, please. She's clearly orchestrated this desperate attempt to… To what? My mother's voice cuts through as she emerges from Tom's car. To expose how you destroyed her father's company? How you manipulated my daughter into marriage for those patents? Reporters are approaching now, cameras rolling. Michael grabs Karen's arm, trying to retreat, but they're surrounded. Summer? Jake reaches for me, but I step back. Whatever you think you're doing. Playing the game, I say. Isn't that what your father taught you? Always be 3 moves ahead? Michael's mask finally cracks. You think you've won? One press release, some unsubstantiated claims. Check your offshore accounts, I tell him. The ones you used to hide the money from my father's company. Tom's been quite helpful with those records. Michael whirls on his brother, but Tom stands his ground. Enough, he says. I watched you destroy her father. I won't watch you destroy her too. Lily pushes through the crowd, phone still recording. Daddy, the board members are calling. Everyone's received copies of the documents. Documents you helped me gather, I tell her. All those times you followed me, recorded me. I made sure you caught exactly what I wanted on camera. Her face contorts with rage as she realizes how I used her own jealousy against her. Mrs. Harrison, a reporter calls out, can you comment on allegations that your family orchestrated your father's death? No comment, Michael snaps, but it's too late. The question hangs in the air, heavy with accusation. Karen makes one last attempt. Summer, darling, think about what you're doing to this family. Family? I laugh. You tried to have me committed, to erase me, just like you erased my father. The officers are on their radios now, reporting the situation to their superiors. More police cars are arriving, but these aren't Michael's puppets. It's over, I tell them. The evidence is everywhere. News outlets, social media, the SEC. You can't bury this one. Jake steps between me and his parents, his face conflicted. Summer, please, we can fix this. No, I say quietly. We can't. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. Michael's phone keeps buzzing with panicked messages from board members, investors, lawyers. Karen's perfect composure crumbles as reporters shout questions about the psychiatric facility's connection to other mysterious patient disappearances. You'll regret this, Michael warns, but his voice lacks its usual authority. I think of my father's confusion in his final days, of all the other lives they've destroyed with their schemes and manipulations. No, I say, I don't think I will. The new officers are approaching Michael now, warrant in hand. Karen clutches her designer bag like a shield. Lily's phone slips from her fingers, screen cracking on the pavement. As they're led away, Jake tries one last time. What about us? I remove my wedding ring, letting it fall next to Lily's broken phone. There never really was an us, was there? Just another acquisition for the family business. The morning sun catches the ring as it hits the ground, throwing light like shattered promises across the pavement. Behind me, my mother places a steady hand on my shoulder as reporters surge forward with their questions. But I have nothing left to say to any of them. The truth can speak for itself now. The boutique's bell chimes as I unlock the door, morning light streaming through newly cleaned windows. My mother's old desk, now mine, sits empty, waiting for the day to begin. The newspaper on its surface shows Michael's arrest splashed across the front page. Karen's perfectly composed face cracking as she's led away by federal agents. Tom appears in the doorway, hesitating before stepping inside. The board approved the transfer of your father's patents back to your control, he says. Michael signed the papers this morning. I trace the wood grain of the desk, remembering my father doing the same in his office years ago. And the company? In shambles. Jake's trying to hold it together, but... He trails off, watching me carefully. He's been asking about you. The bell chimes again. Lily stands there, looking smaller without her designer clothes and carefully crafted superiority. I brought these, she says, placing a box on the counter. Photos from your father's company parties. I found them in Karen's study. Her hands shake slightly as she steps back. I didn't know. About your father, about any of it. I just wanted to belong, I finish. I know the feeling. She nods once, then leaves quickly, the bell's cheerful sound at odds with her retreat. I open the box, finding memories preserved in glossy prints, my father laughing with colleagues, Michael standing nearby, already calculating his destruction. But there's something else beneath the photos. Documents, contracts, handwritten notes in Michael's precise hand. More evidence? Tom asks. Insurance, I correct him, closing the box. In case history tries to repeat itself, the morning sun catches the new sign being installed outside. Summer and Rebecca's boutique. My mother appears beneath it, carrying coffee and fresh flowers for the counter. First day of the rest of your life, she says, arranging the blooms. Are you ready? Before I can answer, Jake's car pulls up outside. He looks different, tired, uncertain, his expensive suit hanging loose on his frame. Our eyes meet through the window, and for a moment, I see the man I thought I married, before his family's poison took hold. He doesn't come in. Instead, he places something on the sidewalk and drives away. Tom brings in the package, divorce papers, already signed, and a letter I'll never read. You could still press charges, Tom reminds me. About the commitment papers, the harassment. No, I say, watching Jake's car disappear around the corner. Some prisons don't need walls. My mother touches the flowers, adjusting a bloom. Your father would be proud, you know, not just of the justice, but of how you've rebuilt. The morning light fills the boutique, touching everything with possibility. A young woman peers through the window, admiring a display. Soon there will be customers, orders to fill, a business to run. Normal things, real things, untainted by manipulation and control. We should get ready to open, I tell them, moving behind the counter. The security camera blinks silently in the corner. My own installation, not Karen's. The safe holds copies of every document that brought down Michael's empire, insurance against future battles. Tom lingers by the door. The family lawyers want to discuss settlements, inheritance rights. Tell them to keep it, I say. I have everything I need right here. He nods, understanding what I'm not saying. Some inheritances are poison, some victories Pyrrhic. But as he leaves, I see him stand straighter, freed from his brother's shadow at last. My mother flips the sign to open as the first customer enters. The woman looks around appreciatively, then approaches the counter with a smile. I love what you've done with the place, she says. It feels honest. I return her smile, feeling the weight of the past few months settle into something manageable, like scar tissue protecting a healed wound. The box of photos sits under my desk, a reminder and a warning. The divorce papers wait unsigned, a choice rather than a necessity. The customer browses, my mother arranges flowers, and morning light fills every corner of my new domain. Not everything broken can be fixed. Not every victory feels like triumph. But as I open the register to begin the day's business, I realize some battles are won simply by surviving them, by refusing to become what tried to destroy you. The bell chimes again, and I look up to greet whatever comes next.